Video got around. I said they got what they deserve. I said I was not going to exert more energy than the athletes themselves who are having their sport ruined because of social justice. Now, I would encourage you to go watch those previous videos. However, there was one that spoke up. Now, I could sit here and also say, why the fuck you wait? And to my knowledge, it's the only one up until the point I've done this video. Everybody else had to remain anonymous. So they felt like they had to be remaining anonymous, even though they knew that there was a problem with this whole Lia Thomas situation. But one has spoke up, or rather spoke out. What is this? But yeah, has spoke out. And I want to highlight it and give credit where it's due. The fact that she's the only one is kind of fucking pathetic. But again, everybody, oh, well, it's not easy. It's they're young. It's funny. The age thing kind of, I don't know why we're calling 23-year-old, 22, 23-year-old people kids. Anyway, but nonetheless, these folks have never had any issues. Definitely, if you've been on campus screaming at anybody regarding their political or social views. If I don't know if fucking Ben Shapiro shows up on their campus and now all of a sudden they care about losing scholarships. And nobody's been able to show receipts on that. It's just hearsay. All it is that they are trying to justify athletes being too chicken shit to speak up for themselves. I sat and watched the NCAAs and all of these damn athletes through the summer of love in 2020 going into that spring talk so much shit about political aspects. All those damn titles, and I say this as a former collegiate athlete, Division I, all those titles didn't seem to matter back then, but now all of a sudden everybody's scared to lose scholarships. No. What you're trying to do is justify the athletes themselves being chicken shit. If you read up on the anonymous ones that spoke up, it wasn't the scholarships that they were worried about losing. What they were worried about is being called a fucking transphobe. So they had rather their sport be destroyed than it be them be called a transphobe. That mattered more to them. They were cared about the social ramifications, not some fucking loss of a scholarship. They get the pantsuit off them if that was the route that they went en masse, started taking all these people's scholarships because they wanted to like speak up and say some shit was wrong. Stop it. All you are trying to do is justify their lack of action. However, we do have one. It is a little late, but I guess give her some credit. She's the only one that's putting a neck on the line. Virginia Tech swimmer, I'm gonna butcher her name. It's like Reka or Rika Giorgi or Giorgi, whatever it is. She spoke out. She would have qualified. So I'd asked this question before. So it's 16 people that gets to qualify for the finals. She was 17th. Meaning that if Lia Thomas wasn't in that race, she qualifies for the finals. That doesn't mean she wins, but she qualifies. So she has something to say about it. We're going to read. We're going to read this. Now, look, I don't know her previous positions. I don't know if she's like the other ones who were secrecy or even if she patted her on the back. I don't know. I'm just going by what is being said right now. Now that all of this is over, let's see. Put out a letter. Reka. I'm going to say Rika. Sounds better. Before you read any further, I'd like to ask everyone who wants to decimate my statement would agree to release my statement in full. I do not want partial releases of my statement and do not wish to make further comments. So basically she's saying read everything and read it in context. Dear NCAA, I would like to address this past week's events and express my thoughts. First, I would like to remind everyone that I am a human being and that as a human being, I experience feelings and emotion. My name is Rika Giorgi from Hungary. I am a 2016 Rio Olympian, represented Virginia Tech for the past 5 years, a 2 ACC champion and 2-time All-American and 3-time honorable mention All-American. So she was a pretty fucking solid athlete in her years over at Virginia Tech. She's at 5 years, so she's probably was a red shirt 1 year like I was, because I was 23, my last competitive year in the NCAAs, because I had red shirt was my junior year that I red shirted. Yeah. With all due respect, I would like to address something that is a problem in our sport right now and hurting athletes, especially female swimmers. Everyone has heard and known about transgender Lia Thomas and her case, including all of the issues and concerns that her situation brought into our sport. I like to point out that I respect and fully stand with Lia Thomas. Well, that's where you fucked up. So that almost makes everything null and void, but let's continue to read. I am convinced that she is no different than me or any other D1 swimmer who has woken up at 5 a.m. her entire life for morning practice, or most of her life. She was a dude. She has sacrificed family vacations and holidays for competition. She has pushed herself to the limit to be the best athlete she could be. She is doing what she is passionate about and deserves the right. On the other hand, I would like to critique the NCAA rule that allows her to compete against us, who are biological women. See, this is my thing about people that know something is a problem, but I got to be critical of her. Yes, I know people are going to say, well, you're kind of dogging on her. At least she came out. That whole paragraph was fluff. Because instead of calling a spade, you needed to set it up, right? You need to set it up like, oh, I'm not challenging her. She has the right. You don't know. Why don't I just say, bam, this is wrong and this is why? You didn't need to qualify everything else. That's I got criticism of that, but let's continue on. I'm writing this letter right now in hopes the NCAA will open their eyes and change these rules in the future. It doesn't promote our sport in a good way, and I think it's disrespectful against the biologically female swimmers who are competing in the NCAA. I swam on the 500 free at NCAA's on March 17th, where I got 17th, which means I didn't make it back to the finals and was the first alternative. I'm a fifth-year senior. I've been top 16, top 8 before, and I know how much of a privilege it is to make the finals at a meet this big. This is my last college meet ever, and I feel frustrated. It feels like the final spot was taken away from me because the NCAA's decision to let someone who is not a biological female compete. I know you could say I had the opportunity to swim faster and make top 16, but this situation makes it a bit different, and I can't help but be angry or sad. It hurts me, my team, and other women in the pool, who ain't saying shit, by the way. One spot was taken away from the girl who got 9th in the 500 free and didn't make it back to a final, preventing her from being an All-American. Every event that transgender athletes competed in was one spot taken away from biological females throughout the meet. The NCAA knew what was coming this past week. They knew opinions and minds will be divided and chose to do nothing. This week has been more about reporters, media, and the division in our sport than things like 2 women going under 21 seconds in a 50 freestyle, 3 women going over 50 seconds in a 100-meter butterfly, or the 100 butterfly, and the first woman in history to go under 48 seconds in a 100 backstroke. Thursday was not a specific athlete's fault. It's the result of the NCAA and their lack. Well, I think Lia Thomas deserves some fault here, and their lack of interest in protecting their athletes. I ask that the NCAA takes time to think about all the other biological women in swimming. Try to think how they would feel if they would be in our shoes. Make the right changes for our sport and for a better future in swimming. Thank you, reading, and this is her, Virginia Tech swimmer. So long story short, it was her last meet. She got destroyed. Well, I would say got destroyed. I mean, she was at nationals at the end of the day. Everybody up there is a damn good athlete. One just had a significant advantage considering how they were born. Get 17th, becomes the alternative in the event that someone got injured, dropped out, or whatever. So she's looking at it like, well, that person took my spot, and I feel you. But I'll say this. I will become more enthusiastic about defense of these people who didn't ask me individually, but just for the sake of standing up for what's right, I guess. But it's one thing to support and back someone that wants to support and back themselves. than it is for people who allowed this to get to the level that it is. Lia Thomas, y'all knew it was fucked up when it happened, and y'all said nothing. You were so scared. And it wasn't enough you lost your scholarship. That's something that people tried to cover you for, to try to justify your inaction. Y'all would have made far more a bigger statement if y'all said, we're not diving in this water so as long as this person is jumping in this. Let that person race by themselves. Once they finish, then we'll jump in the water or something like that. You would have forced the NCAA's hand. We've seen them have their hand be forced many a time, but you chose not to do that. Instead, what you did was nothing. You just let it go on. You let it go on. You were scared of the ridicule. Lia Thomas had more balls than y'all, figuratively and literally. Because that person knew that they were going to get ridiculed by certain demographics, still went and did it. Maybe it's the person's narcissism, but at least they had the balls. Person in a Joe sport, having competed in the collegiate level, if I'm not competed at the collegiate level as a male swimmer, jumped over, and because of the name of progressivism, often led by white women, again, just funny how it comes full circle. White women are the face of the dominant demographic. Let's say that the dominant demographic. White women. Feminism and all this LGBTIA plus bullshit. And now your sport that's dominated by white women has now been fucked. And the Pandora's box is open. It's wide the fuck open now, because if you don't think this is going to embolden other people, as long as the rules remain as such, you out of your mind. It ain't just going to go away. You got to start speaking up for yourselves. But at least there's one, I guess, despite her qualifying it, which I take issue with, at least there's one athlete that's saying, okay, something's fucked. You just waited till, I don't know, your last swim meet was over with. Let this be a lesson to anybody that's out there. Do not allow social ramifications to stop you from saying what's and doing what's right. Like it's just stuff that you're participating in. I'm not saying anything that is on the external. You are participating in something that is a fucking sham and you know it. Yet you keep going along with it. Say something, man. Have some dignity and some self-respect. Because we can't even address the problem that is unless we look at what foundation was laid that got us to this fucking point. Now, we can talk about progressivism all day, but the fact that y'all went this full year of Lia Thomas dominating y'all. And again, I think she was, them was holding back. And losing some of those other meets on purpose. Like other events, excuse me. Nonetheless, this doesn't end until y'all fight for yourselves. Now, will this maybe possibly give people that are in this position the willpower to say, you know what, I'm going to speak up as well? I don't know. I can't say. But we going to sure enough see. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Cannon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on YouTube.com/YoungRipper59 and Odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, EricDJuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.